is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds.
Bud was the best. I got to give it to him. Bud the best, right? He hands down. He the best. He the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of got to give him his respect no matter what. You got to give him the respect. He just went up 2 weight classes, what people said he couldn't do. He's doing everything that people say he can't do.
World champion, as you know, and I've been a 3-division world champion, but I've only won one of the belts. I don't know what it is to be undisputed. I don't know that feeling. Do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable.
Stephen A. Smith has confronted Floyd Mayweather for downplaying Terence Crawford after his victory over Canelo Alvarez. Smith insisted that Crawford accomplished something historic, pointing out that no fighter had ever achieved what Crawford has by becoming undisputed in multiple weight divisions. He stressed that Crawford earned every bit of his legacy and deserves universal praise, not criticism. According to Smith, Crawford's triumph over Canelo was not just another win, but a defining moment that elevated him among the all-time greats. He made it clear that Mayweather's negativity could not overshadow Crawford's remarkable accomplishment.
He's the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance.
Jeff Mayweather also shared strong views on the shock that Crawford handed to Canelo, emphasizing that the defeat will always leave a mark on Canelo's legacy. In Jeff's words, Canelo was the undisputed king of that division, holding both status and dominance over his opponents. Yet he suffered a humbling loss to someone who dared to move up in weight and challenge him inside his own castle. For Jeff, this was not a minor blemish, but a permanent stain that will forever sit alongside Canelo's name in boxing history. He highlighted how champions are remembered for defining moments, and Canelo's defining moment turned out to be a devastating loss to Crawford.
Either way, he was in discussion certainly with Chavez. What did this do to his legacy? Because I don't think he caught, the Floyd fight didn't give him, people didn't really look down on, because he was, even though he had 40 fights, he was still, fighting one of the greatest ever in an absolute master. In Bivol, he went up weight classes to win. But now he's fighting a smaller guy, a great fighter, but a smaller guy. Does this damage his legacy in any way?
I think it does. I think it does because, the one thing is this, is that, you were ruling, you were the king of that weight class. And the king of that weight class for a good while. And I think that, he had a huge following because, he became the face of boxing.
And even though it's another, future Hall of Famer, still losing, losing a guy come up a couple weight classes, kind of makes you seem not as great as you might have been.
Stephen A. Smith was in awe of Crawford's victory and did not hold back his admiration. He stressed that he was there to witness the moment live, which made the achievement even more personal for him. According to Smith, nobody in the history of boxing has done what Terence Crawford just pulled off, moving up in weight to defeat a dominant champion like Canelo in such convincing fashion. He called it a career-defining performance that sets Crawford apart from the rest, ensuring that this night will live forever in the sport's history. For Smith, it was not just a fight, but a monumental shift in how greatness is defined in boxing.
This was Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up 2 weight divisions, really 3 in my mind, because we only fought 1 fight at the junior middleweight division. So he's really moving up from 147 pounds, okay? Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up to the 168-pound limit in an effort to claim the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world from the grasp of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, I was there. Because let me tell you something right now. There's very, very few sporting events in the world that are better than a super fight in Vegas. I can tell you that right now. There's very, very few events. Props to Nick Khan of the WWE.
Crawford's trainer made it very clear after the fight that his fighter had nothing more to prove. In his view, Terence has reached a point where respect should be unquestioned. Yet, some critics still refuse to give him that recognition. This frustration underlined the fact that despite dismantling one of the greatest names in boxing, Crawford is still fighting narratives outside the ring. His trainer emphasized that Terence is not even considering another fight right now, because what he did against Canelo is more than enough to cement his greatness. For Crawford, this was not about chasing names anymore. It was about building a legacy that cannot be denied.
Terence Crawford and his well-renowned trainer, two-time trainer of the year and future Hall of Fame trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, recently did an interview in which Bomac stated that a fight is not happening. And this particular fight is a fight that everybody wanted to see Canelo Alvarez take, and Canelo Alvarez refused to take this fight with a 28-year-old two-division world champion, reigning WBC light heavyweight, former two-time WBC super middleweight, the Mexican Ecuadorian superstar boxer, who's one of my favorite fighters and a great person, David, the Mexican Ecuadorian monster Benavidez, who has 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout, stands at 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach, and fights at 175. But the entire time David Benavidez was fighting at 168, Canelo Alvarez was brought up, and he never accepted the fight. And so, with that said, now people are trying to project this fight on Terence Crawford. And they're saying that Terence Crawford needs to take the fight. So Bomac yesterday did an interview, and Bomac said they're not fighting David Benavidez. And so now people are pushing this notion that Terence Crawford is ducking and Terence Crawford is scared of David Benavidez. And if he don't fight David Benavidez, according to Boxing News 24,
Timothy Bradley gave one of the boldest assessments yet, directly comparing Crawford with Floyd Mayweather. He argued that Crawford's name now belongs at the very top of any greatest of all time conversation. For Bradley, this was not simply about Crawford beating Canelo. It was about redefining the very meaning of pound-for-pound supremacy. He stressed that while Floyd may have mastered the art of boxing in his era, Crawford just proved he could do it at an even higher level by taking on and defeating Canelo at his strongest. In Bradley's eyes, this win lifted Crawford into an entirely new realm where only the sport's absolute legends exist.
It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody put his resume down.
Roy Jones Jr. offered a more measured perspective, pointing out that unlike when Mayweather beat Canelo years ago, this time both fighters were in their primes. He explained that Floyd had the advantage of facing a younger, less experienced Canelo, a fighter still learning at the highest level. In contrast, Crawford faced a fully matured, seasoned version of Canelo, one who had dominated his division for years. Despite being naturally smaller, Crawford still managed to dismantle him. For Roy, that fact alone makes Crawford's achievement extraordinary, because he overcame a stronger, wiser, and sharper version of Canelo than the one Floyd defeated.
Traditional great in Canelo Alvarez, really 3 weights above his natural weight class. Does that put him in the conversation with the likes of yourself as the greatest fighter of all time?
Yes, it does, and the reason it does is because he couldn't get the credibility down in his own weight class, so he went up to go challenge himself to fight it, and he found a very formidable, good opponent.
Do you think Canelo Alvarez is on the decline or not?
No, I don't think it's on decline at all.
So you think both fighters are still at their peak, even though they're 36, 37?
Yeah, I think they're both still at their peak. The age for Crawford would seem like he may be beyond it, but he hasn't had the fights, the tough fights we'd have put him there. And the years of boxing for Canelo would have put him in a position where they're about equal. So I think they both are pretty much in a great place. I think they're both still in their primes, and this is the best time to see them fight.
Duke McKenzie was stunned by what he witnessed in the ring. In his view, Canelo had no answers for Crawford's relentless pressure, speed, and precision. He described the performance as unbelievable and incredible, calling it one of the most complete displays ever seen in modern boxing. McKenzie emphasized that Crawford not only became undisputed, but also proved himself practically unbeatable, even against the toughest opposition. His words carried a mix of awe and respect, making it clear that Crawford has now set a standard so high that very few fighters, if any, will ever reach it.
That feeling, do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable. He's a 3-time undisputed world champion, and he's beaten the best of the best. Now, for me, there were red flags way before this fight, not way before the fight, you know, in the build up to this fight. Canelo's body language in the run up to this fight, you know, he turned up in Vegas in his stretch limo, in his Armani suit. He's had his kids and his wife in the back of the car, and he's got out and he's strolling around like he owns the gaff. Now, that all that signified to me was a very comfortable man. He was too comfortable. And Terence Crawford just kept it real from the outset. Tracksuit, no nonsense, went there to win, said what he was going to do, told the world what he was going to do long before the fight. I think he asked for this fight many years ago. The discussion he had with Bill Haney, and I think it was him that actually suggested call out Canelo, which he laughed at the beginning, but then it came to fruition, and now it's come to fruition. I mean, what you saw in that fight yesterday, what I watched in that fight yesterday, it was for the purists. It really was, because you really have to try and understand boxing and know what you're looking at. It was the feints. It was the way that he handled the bigger man. It was the little feints, the little side steps, the little flicking with the jabs, you know, hitting him with the head and the body, the little combinations, the little 2s and 3s, and also with Crawford knowing how to close a round, knowing how to win rounds.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next time,